You ever boot up a game and it just feels right? Like it belongs to a simpler time? Well, that's exactly how I felt jumping into Warhammer 40k Space Marines Mastercrafted Edition in 2025. Now, I had played a bit of Space Marine 2, but I always had this sense of guilt, and I never tried the prequel. Well, I'm glad I finally did, because this one's a bit special. It's not just about the Orcs or the Ultramarines, it's about rediscovering a kind of game you don't really get anymore. Space Marine isn't trying to be deep. It doesn't ask you to craft potions, manage a skill tree, or unlock zones in some sprawling map. It's linear, laser focused, and you're here to be a walking slab of fury in a big blue suit. And just every chapter pushes you forward with just the right rhythm. There's barely any cutscenes in Space Marine, and most of the story unfolds mid-combat, or even whilst you're on the move. Combat is consistent, and there's barely any downtime. There's hardly even any loading times. And it really does have that early 2000s DNA baked throughout. And honestly, that simplicity is comforting in 2025. Just pure, crunchy campaign action. Yeah, you get some light exploration here and there, guns to pick up in between fights, and okay, the occasional secrets hidden in corners, but it's never overwhelming, just enough to reward your curiosity. But the star of Space Marine is the combat, and the action is visceral. You heal by executing enemies, and it just never gets old. The bolter feels weighty, and every shot hits like a truck. And that chainsword? Ho ho ho! It's straight up therapy. I'm playing through the campaign on the hardest difficulty. I do tend to like the story-driven base games, and I'm a sucker for an achievement, so I had to jump in on hard. And let me tell you, this has been the right choice. Quite a lot of the fights give a bit of real tension to it, not more or less against the cannon fodder, but when the big enemies come, that's when you get a little bit desperate and start chaining kills to try and survive as much as you can. Try and time the execution so you can still rebuff your health and get ready to fight again. Throw in a couple of turret sequences in those classic wave defense sections, and it's just that perfect, nostalgic sweet spot. It's the kind of combat loop that doesn't waste your time, whether you're on hard, medium or easy difficulty. It's just brutal fun that keeps on moving. Now, I mentioned it a moment ago, but I have always loved campaign-focused games. Things like Gears of War, Bulletstorm, Resistance, the Doom games. You know, those no-nonsense 6 to 8 hour campaign romps where the story doesn't get in the way of the action. And Space Marine is exactly that. Easy to pick up, satisfying to master, no fluff, no filler, no random side quests, no fetch quests, it just flows. And in a world of open world checklist galore, this is a power fantasy that respects your time and made me smile throughout. I've been playing Space Marine on my OLED ultra-wide with the RTX 5070 Ti, and whilst it looks pretty solid, performance-wise it's a bit odd. I had most of the time playing around 120 FPS, which is a beautiful experience, but every now and again we just randomly drop down to 60 FPS or possibly even worse. And although the CPU and GPU readings are only hovering around 20 to 40% usage, it makes no sense. I hope that gets fixed in a future patch. It definitely needs a little bit more love. But that said, the textures are clean, the lighting looks great, and all of it holds nicely together. It isn't a full remake, but as a remaster that upgrades the texture, it does its job. Now, despite everyone warning me I'd get my arse kicked, I actually tried the multiplayer. And you know what? I held my own. It is your typical rank up, unlock gear, arena setup, functional but not exactly thrilling multiplayer, but it was okay. It was one of those tacked on multiplayers that we did get many moons ago. It's not exactly filled out, but I actually didn't find it too bad. It was just nothing spectacular, let's say. But I don't think that's why you buy Space Marine. You don't buy it for the multiplayer, you buy it for that incredible campaign. That is the main event. But worth noting, multiplayer is a little bit odd. I had numerous crashes whilst trying just to get into a game. Don't know if it was my setup, don't know if the game's just dodgy. It's worth mentioning because, yeah, I barely was able to get footage for this review here today. But if you're like me, you've got a soft spot for those old school campaigns, Space Marine is absolutely worth your time in 2025. It's brutal in all the right ways, nostalgic without feeling too clunky, it's relatively short, it's incredibly satisfying, and it's an absolute blast to play. It might feel old in places, but that's the point. It's a game built around a clear identity from 2011 and it still bloody works. So guys, let me know, have you played this game before, or are you just now discovering it thanks to the Mastercrafted edition, a bit like I was in a way? And of course, if you've got any campaign first gems that you think I should check out, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to revisit some of those old classic campaign games that just hit you right in the feels. Guys, thanks for watching the review, hope you enjoyed, like and subscribe, see you next time, ciao for now.